Hey guys, and welcome back to the Wrestling Hideout Podcast. Now, I am alone this week. My co-host with the mo-host, Liam, is unavailable. Who knows what's going on with him? So, we are going to do a bit of a weird podcast today. So, I'm joined by my little brother, Harley.
Hi.
And you might be thinking, oh, got a kid on the podcast. There's a reason. So, I think a good topic to talk about this week is how children now view wrestling. So, for example, when I was growing up, I didn't know anything about the backstage stuff. So I didn't know whose contracts had renewed, who left, who'd been fired, that sort of stuff. But it dawned on me while we were watching the Royal Rumble, my little brother here was cracking out all this backstage knowledge that I don't know where he's got it from. So I thought it'd be a nice little topic to talk about how wrestling has changed and how accessible the news is and how much he knows in comparison to what's on the TV and what's behind the scenes. So, how long have you been watching wrestling?
2 years, I think.
Okay, so 2 years. So, when it comes to wrestling, what companies do you watch?
WWE, and I think that's it right now.
Okay, so obviously WWE being the main one, that's kind of to be predicted. How do you watch wrestling?
On the Wrestling Network.
It's on WWE Network?
Yeah.
Yeah, anywhere else?
Some YouTube channels.
Okay, so this is what I want to talk about. When you say some YouTube channels, what are we saying? Are we talking about like channels like this where we discuss some of the backstage stuff? Or are we talking just like the WWE wrestling channel?
Like a channel which like talks about the contracts, talks about the show that was that night, and like that.
Okay, so do you know any of the names of the channels you watch?
Don't remember right now.
Okay, but does the name like Wrestle Talk, Cultaholic, those sort of things sound familiar?
No.
No? Okay, but I'm going to guess it's those sort of channels. So what makes you interested in that? Like, what makes you interested to know what happens behind the scenes, as opposed to just what you see in the ring?
I like to know what happens behind the scenes so then I can know which WWE superstars are there, when the contracts are getting renewed, and when people are getting signed.
Okay, so would you say, because obviously you know wrestling is scripted.
Yes.
Okay, so would you say knowing all that backstage stuff takes away your enjoyment from the show, or do you still enjoy wrestling as much?
I still enjoy wrestling as much.
But you just enjoy also knowing what happens behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Okay, so you understand that wrestling's like a movie where things go into to make it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, with that in mind, I have a question. I don't really know how to form it for you to understand. Like, so considering you know what happens behind the scenes, you know sort of what we know, and you enjoy looking at that. Does that hinder your view on watching it in terms of if you know someone's leaving, for example?
Yeah.
Does that make you less interested in watching them wrestle, or do you still enjoy the whole show as it is?
I still enjoy the whole show and I like to see their last matches.
Okay, cool. So, with that in mind, considering you have this pretty good understanding, because we were talking about the Rumble, and you were pretty clued in on like what was happening, who had been signed, who had left.
Yeah.
We even spoke about Matt Riddle getting fired, that sort of thing. So, with that in mind, and considering you have a good understanding of like what's going to happen, what's coming up, blah 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 blah, that doesn't take away any enjoyment. Like, you'll still happily sit there and watch hours upon hours, because I always hear you listening to wrestling or watching wrestling.
Yeah, I still like watching it for hours and hours since I still enjoy it.
Okay, so does it make you want to watch any other companies? Like, do you look for any other wrestling companies? I know you know they exist because you know I'm a big TNA fan, that sort of thing. But does knowing any of the behind-the-scenes stuff make you want to watch other companies, or you very much just you like your WWE and that's where it stops?
I just like my WWE.
Okay, so remind me.
Yeah.
Just Raw, or do you watch Raw and SmackDown? I know you don't like not TNA. I know you don't like NXT.
I'm currently watching Raw, but I will go to SmackDown.
Okay, so you're happy to watch both?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. It's just, I think it's good to have this view on how kids are viewing wrestling. Because when I was growing up, I didn't know any of the backstage stuff. No, because it wasn't as accessible. Obviously, you had people like, do you know Dave Meltzer?
No.
Okay, so Dave Meltzer's like the biggest wrestling journalist. You had people like him who would talk about the news, but it wasn't ever anything I followed.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's everywhere on YouTube. It's so easy to find. I mean, look at us. We even have a podcast where we talk about wrestling behind the scenes. So I fully understand. But yeah, it's weird to see how it's changed so dynamically over the few years. Because I'm 29, a little behind baseball here. 29 years old. My little brother here is 12.
Yes.
So 17-year difference. And it's just amazing how 17 years, not only in WWE itself, have we seen different eras with like the PG era, the reality era, the ruthless aggression era, the attitude era, all that sort of stuff. But it's also really interesting to see how the dynamic of the viewer has changed. Yeah, very, very interesting. I just wanted to talk about this topic because, like I said, growing up, I never watched like the behind the scenes stuff. Like, I only used to watch the wrestling and that was it. And then I dropped off for years and years and years and years. And then when I got back into wrestling, I liked to keep an eye on the backstage stuff as well. So I don't know if there was like this grace period when I fell off that became more popular or what. But it just really shocked me during the Rumble when we were talking and you were just cracking out all this backstage information I never thought you'd know. Like,
Just that good.
You're just that good. Yes, you are. So, with all this in mind, let's do a quick little Q&A, and then we'll wrap this little mini pod up. Favourite wrestler? Go.
Rey Mysterio.
Okay, favourite female wrestler?
Rhea Ripley.
Favourite match so far?
Of what?
Any year. Just your favourite match you've ever seen.
Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 39.
That's your favourite match?
Yeah.
Nice. How do you feel about Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes at this year's WrestleMania?
I'm hoping that Cody wins.
Okay. Who do you think should be the 2 world champions?
The two, like, World Heavyweight Champions.
Yeah, so who do you think should have Seth's title, and who do you think should have Roman's title?
CM Punk should have Seth's, or maybe Drew. And I think Cody should have Roman's.
Okay, interesting. Who do you think the biggest babyface in WWE is?
Oh, God. That's a hard one.
Okay, who strikes you as being, like, if you were to pick a team of the babyfaces,
Yeah.
who would be on your team? Let's say it's a Survivor Series match, okay? So, you've got a Survivor Series match, you've got your heels and your babyfaces.
Yeah.
Who are you picking on your babyface team?
That's actually very hard. I barely know any.
You barely know any?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lie. You know loads of the babyfaces.
I do not.
Yes, you do.
I'm trying to think. Seth Rollins?
Okay, so Seth Rollins, that's one.
Jey Uso.
Jey Uso, okay.
I'll take Cody.
Cody, okay.
And then probably, no, Drew's heel, right?
Drew's the heel, yep.
Oh, God. CM Punk.
Okay,
I think that's my 4.
that's your 4.
Yeah.
Those are the 4 that stand out to you, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so who are the 4 top heels you think in WWE right now?
Drew McIntyre.
Okay.
The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think. Becky Lynch, I think. A little bit. No, Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley, yep.
Does it have to be women?
Throw women in there.
I want to add Dominic Mysterio.
You think Dominic Mysterio's up there?
Nah, actually Finn.
You think Finn's up there?
Yeah.
Interesting. So what I find really interesting there is how you picked 3 out of the 4 members of the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Rhea, Dom, and Finn.
Yeah.
The one you didn't pick, however, was Mr. Money in the Bank, Damian Priest.
Yeah.
So how comes he isn't what you view as a top heel compared to the other 3?
I don't view him as a top heel because with the Money in the Bank, yes, he is threatening, but he's failed to cash in like a lot of times so far.
So do you think that hinders him looking like that he's a guy who could be world champion?
Yes.
Interesting. So one name I want to pick up on there, because I actually think this dude's amazing as well, is Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah.
Why do you think he's a top heel? Because we don't really see him wrestle like big matches. Like obviously Finn and Damian do the tag title big matches.
Yeah.
Rhea's obviously had big matches against like Charlotte and all sorts. But Dom hasn't really had those big matches. But why do you think he's one of the top heels then?
I think he is because he's kind of like did revenge to his father, got a big WrestleMania match, and that he has the North American Championship.
Okay, well there you go. So thank you very much for coming on the pod. I just wanted to have this little debrief so we could get a little inside baseball on how the younger generation view this, because I've looked at our YouTube analytics and a lot of the audience that watch these podcasts and videos are my age, a little bit older. So I thought it'd be nice and interesting to see how the younger generation view things, and having someone like Dominic Mysterio in the list of top heels I think is very interesting and very telling. I think Dom is amazing, and I think in 10 years' time he could be the biggest heel in the company.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre being the first heel you named is really interesting, because Drew is someone that's been overlooked a lot. So that's a name I want to pick up on quick, actually. Why do you think Drew's the biggest heel in the company now? And how long have you thought this?
I thought this before Crown Jewel. And Drew McIntyre has got this ruthless attitude now, and it's kind of turning him into a heel about wanting another championship, which is making him a great heel.
Okay, so again, I have my own thoughts. What's your view on Roman Reigns?
Don't like him.
Why? Let's forget the character aspect about how he's the big bad guy, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Roman Reigns not being on the show half the time?
Really annoying, because he has to defend the championship. He's not even there for half of the shows. He's only there for pay-per-views, signings, and that's it, really. And I think they should book him more.
Okay. And how do you feel about Seth Rollins having this title? Because Seth has had this title since the very first time match. Yeah, he's had it since the very start of the championship being existed.
Yeah.
So with this long reign, how do you feel about that?
I feel about that pretty good since his back and I think his knee is wearing out. He's doing very good, keeping the championship with hardcore matches with I think Shinsuke, with that hardcore match, and I think he's doing very good with that title, having a sore back most of the time. So I think he's doing very good.
So you're not bored of this title reign?
No, not really.
No? Okay, well, thank you very much for coming on the pod. Like I said, it's just been a little quick one. I just wanted to get this sort of perspective of someone else for once, because we had a podcast idea and unfortunately it got cancelled, so scrambled a little bit, but I think this was a pretty interesting podcast for us to sort of digest. Not many people obviously give an opinion about how kids view wrestling, but let's be fair, WWE is more of a wrestling company aimed at children in terms of the merchandise and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think their opinion is valid. And with how easily accessible the backstage news is, it's crazy to me how much people now know and how it's still so easy to differentiate from what happens backstage to what you see on screen. So thank you very much for coming on the pod.
You're welcome.
If you have enjoyed, please drop this a like. Helps us amazingly. If you're new and you're not subscribed, if you'd like to, that'd also be amazing. Hopefully, see you guys in the next video.
Bye.
Bye, guys.